Okay, and we're back. We are handing out to those that are observing the general information and confidential information of today's problem. You can also, for those professionals, you may also be able to access the platform and be able to see the general information. But if you like paper, you'll be getting it in just a moment. Okay. Here we are. It's the final stage and the final round of the 19th edition of the ICC mediation competition. We are thrilled to see all of you here for the final round and later on the award ceremony. Welcome, everyone. This year's finalists are University of Marburg Requesting Party, and Law Society of Ireland Responding Party. They will be competing on problem number 6, Off the Tram Lines, prepared by Greg Bond. The final session is being mediated by the lovely Jody Sin. And our judges today, we have 5 of them. This is a big day after all. We have Damien Cody, Anna Sambold, Joe Torado, Kimberly Schreiber, and Cesare Regula. And I do appreciate that you sat in the order that I had written down, so that was well done, thank you. And our supervisor today is a wonderful volunteer, Menglu Kong. And without further ado, let's get started.
So hello again, everyone. The mediation session will last for 85 minutes. I will show everybody this yellow sign when there are 10 minutes left, and a 5-minute sign when there are 5 minutes left. And before we start, please kindly to switch off your phone or turn it into silent mode. Please note that no picture, audio, or video recording is allowed during the session. And before we start, do you have any questions? Okay, so now the time is 10:06. Feel free to start.
to communicate with us. You see, we wanted to work with you in the future also. But after you escalated the issue so quickly, without approaching us, we wouldn't know how we would work together with you in the future and how we could. That's also the reason why we canceled the remaining contract of the 20 trams still outstanding. It is important to us that to honor a business relationship and to communicate with us first in case of problems, to also give us the chance to fix problems. Once again, that's something we offer to you, to fix the trains quickly so you wouldn't suffer any damages arising from that. And we stand to that. You, on the other hand, claimed unreasonable high damages for reputation without providing us with any reasonable base for that, as well as compensation for grounding even the trains that were absolutely intact. Something that was redundant, because we made sure that all trains were safe to operate at all times. However, we're here today to address these claims and to talk about options we have to resolve this dispute peacefully. So let us communicate efficiently so we might find a mutual beneficial outcome to this dispute. And with nothing further to add, I'd like to give the word to my counsel, Julius. Thank you.
Thank you, Lee. And of course, dear Jody, thank you for being our mediator today. I'd also like to thank you, Ellie and Owen, for accepting our request for mediation beforehand. I first of all want to say that we are both not native speakers, so if any misunderstandings may occur, then please address them and ask. As already mentioned, my name is Julius, and I'm the in-house counsel for VEH and would therefore support Lee in this mediation. Today, I'm in a legal advisory role, trying to support Lee not only to meet her own interest, but also to come to a legally justifiable solution for our dispute at hand. To start off, I'd like to address the claims that you, Ellie, commenced against Lee from a legal perspective. Particularly, you are demanding a total of 40 million Skyline crowns from us, which is not justifiable at all. To address the first part of this claim, demanding an amount of 6 million Skyline crowns for the grounded trams themselves, I want to say that you have no legal justification for this. Considering that apparently only 4 of the 10 trams delivered suffered from the hairline cracks, and there was no safety risk in using all of the trains, there was simply no need to ground all of them. Therefore, my client does not have to pay for damages that you caused by unnecessarily grounding fully functioning trams. To come to the second part of your claim, demanding an amount of 8 million Skyline crowns for the repair of the affected trams and the damage of reputation, I also want to outline that Lee does not have to pay for this as well. Even though that you indeed might have suffered from bad press regarding the issues resulting from the grounding of the trams, there's just no proof for this particular number. Hence, you not only have the burden of proof here, but my client can also not be held responsible for damages she didn't even cause. However, Lee is not here to discuss legal claims primarily, but she intended to come to a solution in this very mediation setting and to move forward. I personally, and I can probably also speak for you, my dear colleague Owen, that mediation is a great way of pursuing this goal and to come to a legally justifiable solution outside of the courtroom. To ensure that all important aspects are to be discussed today, I eventually like to suggest a few talking points, actually 2 talking points, so we can maybe agree on an agenda after everybody of us held their opening statements. The first thing that we want to talk about is the damage of the trams themselves. So we want to understand the circumstances about the incident that brought us here. Second of all, there are apparently claims in the room, and I already mentioned them, so we definitely have to talk about, first of all, the 8 million Skyline crowns for reputation, and second of all, the 6 million for the grounded trams themselves. I look very much forward for today's mediation, and I thank you for your attention. With nothing further to add, I'd like to give the word back to Jody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee and Julius. So quickly summarize what you've just told us. You have told us the contractual background of the purchase of the 30 trams, and there were some issues in relation to 4 out of the 10 trams that were delivered in the first batch. You have expected some response and communications with Streamlines after problems has happened. For resolving the problem today, you wish to focus more on the future and try to see how to restore the relationship between the parties. Okay? All right, so perhaps let me turn to Streamlines, Ali and Owen. So
Thank you,
let me
Jodie.
pass it on to you.
Thank you. And thank you, Lee, for having us all here today. I suppose in the interest of clarity, I'll just reintroduce myself. My name is Ali Nazari, and I'm Head of Purchasing for Streamlines. I'd like to thank Lee for setting out the facts, which are not contested here today, I suppose, in the lead up to the events and what's gone on. And we're here today to get to the bottom of that. And in that respect, I want to thank you for the opportunity here to mediate. I've been advised by my counsel of the relative advantages of mediation and what we can gain from this as two parties to a commercial dispute, namely the confidentiality and the control that's involved in the process and how we can resolve this. I am a big believer in commercial disputes being solved between commercial minds, myself and yourself here today, Lee, and in that face-to-face environment where it's just you and I getting down to business. I know there might be a few extra rooms in the faces in the room here today, but if we can maintain that confidentiality throughout, that's greatly appreciated. And I hear from you that you've called this mediation because you value your business relationships and trust, and I suppose honouring commitments. And from our perspective, honouring commitments is key to this, and our commitment to the people of Skyline in offering the public transport and a safe and reliable public transport to them. And so I see we both have commitments to offer here, so I do think our interests could be aligned in this regard. And I'm interested to explore that further with you throughout today's mediation session. In looking at the commercial philosophy of Streamlines, our business model is to offer safe, reliable and efficient public transport to the people of Sky City. And as a citizen of Sky City myself, this is a mission that I feel very personally connected to, and one I've always held dear throughout my time. I'm happy to hold the position of Head of Purchasing in an organisation that holds such core values similar to the ones that I would hold myself, being efficiency and safety. And on top of that, in acknowledging the business that you work in and the state-of-the-art trains that you produce, that forward-thinking mindset and how that marries with safety in real life and the real-life impacts that can have, I do see us as on a similar train in that regard, if you will. As a businesswoman, I mean, the issues here are more than monetary compensation. Really, we see it as kind of a twofold analysis. The primary concern for us is safety. And following on from the safety of the trams and the products and everything that we use is the subsequent consumer trust in that safety. If we can't establish that consumer trust in the safety of the products, then essentially there is no viable business value to protect. Without consumer trust in the products and what we do, there is no commercial reality for us. And I suppose in the industry that we work in public transport and trains, the potential fallout when things go wrong are catastrophic. Quite frankly, they're unfathomable. And so for that reason, we have been, and always have been, and will continue to be, very strict on our risk management procedures. It's something we have always prided ourselves on. And in the industry that we work in, where our primary stakeholders are the government of Skyline and the citizens of Skyline, there simply is no alternative. Where there is such a public interest involved, the stakes are higher, and as such, our risk radar is higher. And on that, in the industry, it's expected, desirable, and necessary to be risk averse. And I know from your opening statements that you too share those values of safety and reliability. So I know, thank you for outlining the facts and the issues that are involved here today. When we discovered the cracks initially, from our perspective, we felt you conducted what might be described as a perfunctory investigation as to what went wrong. And we weren't based on our safety protocols, we weren't sure it was up to the standard of the kind of investigation that we would require in terms of identifying the root causes of such issues. And that's a key concern for us today, and we do hope to delve into that further with you throughout the day. And I suppose following on from that, our interests in today's session are primarily, I will sound like a broken record, but safety, understanding your approach to safety, and I suppose assurances if we are to go forward as to how we can align our definitions of safety and what that looks like. Another interest of ours is public perception. Again, there are two kind of limbs to this. The operational integrity. In operating in such a public sphere and the high scrutiny of the public, which is entitled in a government kind of contract, we're required to be commercially effective and efficient, and that's something that we pride ourselves on, and so we need to re-establish that operational integrity in our organisation. On top of that, we need to restore public trust in the safety of the trams, and that's where I see us as really coming to a mutually beneficial outcome. Similar to you, I suppose we're interested in the timely resumption of operations. The longer the trams are off the tracks, the more losses we're incurring. Similar for you, we need to minimise our future losses here, and that's why we're here in mediation. So a timely resumption is of key in that regard. I suppose compensation and the commercial realities, that obviously does come into it. We're here to avoid litigation, but essentially, now my counsel will delve into this further, there was what we believe was a defective product. We incurred a loss as a result. And while I have authority to settle here today, I'll just couch that in the language that ultimately we're responsible to the stakeholders and justifying any position to the people of Skyline and the government of Skyline. So while I have authority to settle, you'll excuse me if I ask a few questions as to justification of why we're reaching any kind of agreements that we are. But like I said, I do think after going through all of those interests, you'll see that we are aligned in the paramount of safety and the prompt resumption of activities. And in looking to the future, it's something we're interested in as well, depending on how we go here today, if that's something that is amenable to you. Having said that, and I know going back to what you said earlier again, Lee, that'll be about rebuilding trust. And we see today as a positive step in that direction, in establishing that trust, understanding what went wrong, and building on that to develop a partnership into the future. And I was keen to hear in your opening that you're willing to put forward some options to resolve the dispute. So it's nice to know that we're both looking to the future in that regard. And so, like I said, on the future, we are interested in working into the future, and that is contingent on certain assurances from your side. I mean, like I've said time and time again, the safety is of paramount concern, and so we would need assurances as to how that can be avoided into the future. But just to finish on a note of acknowledging the importance of trust for you and how we're also keen to establish that here today, and that's trust in both our relationship and how we can move forward, and also regaining, I suppose, the trust of our ultimate customers. And so I'll just hand over to my counsel now to delve into the legal issues.
Thank you, Ali, and thank you, Lee, Julius, and obviously Jodie for being here today. My name is Owen Doyle, and I'm representing Ali and Streamline today. And we're grateful for being here today, and we also want to achieve a mutually beneficial outcome. And we're very glad, Jodie, that you're here with us. I've advised Ali of the benefits of mediation. We believe it opens doors, and I think we all agree we're in safe hands with you, Jodie, here today to guide us. At all times, my client's utmost concern has been safety. Lee, as you said, you're good at building trains. And that was recognised, and that's why I think my client chose to purchase from you, to purchase the state-of-the-art TR20 trams, which was to improve the service provided to the citizens and to increase trust with the service. I think you can understand that after less than 2 months, when damage arose in the trains, which you described as cosmetic, but when we received concern from our Streamline engineers that this damage was serious, I advised my client to ground the trains, or the trams. Julius, I think you can relate to this. The role of a solicitor is, or a counsel is to risk management for your client. And my client here operates in a risk-adverse industry. You mentioned how maybe we should have only ground the 4 trams that had the damage, or that we were hasty to do so. But I think the alternative, and of accepting that these hairline cracks were merely cosmetic without definite proof, could have led to much graver legal ramifications. This issue caused disruption and financial loss to my client, and we sought damages to seek recognition of this loss, which included reputational loss, quantifiable financial loss, and also a cost incurred per week per tram. I don't want to go in depth on the figures at this juncture. I'm eager to hear your perspective, and I think we would be moving towards a more mutually beneficial outcome if we don't get bogged down in it right at this moment. But I think it is important to recognise that there's a high financial claim here, and this will continue to increase the longer the dispute continues. You mentioned communication, and I think that is important if we have a working relationship in the future, if we can obtain legal certainty. And I wonder if that was the case, and I hear the eagerness to look to the future if this can be resolved, and I wonder maybe the potential for a communication clause in any future contracts. However, likewise, with the cancellation of the remaining 20 TR20 trams, we felt a lack of communication. We feel our legal position, and again, we're here to mediate, we're not here to litigate, is that that would be a breach of contract were we to follow the litigation route. We need help to understand why this happened, and once trust in the product can be restored in my clients, we want to discuss. We're happy, we're open to opportunities and different options. And again, you mentioned a timely resolution, and I think we're in agreement there that that is beneficial to all parties. I believe the overarching goals of my client today, firstly, revolve around safety and certain assurances, trust that this won't happen again, understanding of how it happened and what you have done to make sure it never happens again. We also require buy-in from the public, and it's necessary to restore public trust in the service. And we have incurred a loss as a result of this issue, and that must be compensated. Once we can gain trust and build back the relationship, obtain certainty, I believe my client would like to look to the future, as you have mentioned. I understand a lot has been discussed already at this brief moment, and it sounds very positive, and the outlook already sounds positive. I understand that my client is quite passionate about this issue, and I know myself as a native speaker, I have an accent. So again, if at any moment you can't understand us, if we say something that doesn't make sense, please let us know. Judy, I think maybe it would be beneficial for us as well if maybe you could provide a summary, and as Julius mentioned, the potential of an agenda, and I think, Judy, we'd agree, it would really help if you could guide us in the process. Thank you.
Thank you. Perhaps let me quickly summarize what Ali and Owen, you've told us just now. You've shared with us your key corporate values in running this public transport business. And you have told us that safety, reliability, and efficiency in this kind of public transportation is absolutely important to your company. And that's why you have been adopting a very strict policy on risk management. And in dealing with this matter, it is important for your company that the issues of safety will be addressed, how to address the public perception as to the safety and the reliability of the public transport services. You hope to rebuild trust with this, if there is an opportunity, with VEH, but you are really emphasizing on the assurance of safety of the trains. You wish to regain trust by the public, by the customers, and also to regain trust between the parties. So thank you very much for this opening presentation. I understand that there are a number of issues that will need to be discussed between the two sides. I've also heard just now, Julius has shared with us some points that you would like to discuss. Perhaps let's pause here and tell me, all right, what are the issues that you would like to flesh out at this stage so that we form an agenda of what we need to focus on today? Should we do that?
Yes,
Please.
Anyone?
I think my council expressed already that it's important for us to talk about the damages of the trains, and I believe that's important for you as well, as I've gathered from your opening statements. But then obviously also the claims, because this is mainly what we're here to talk about, right? This is the reason why we're in court right now already, and why we're having this dispute.
Yeah, and I suppose our take on that would be under, I think you called it the damage to the trains. We would call that safety. So I suppose those two are inextricably linked. So if we could link them together under that heading.
Absolutely.
The compensation absolutely is something we're happy to discuss. And another one would be public perception and how we can kind of both work together to improve both of our public image. And finally, as an ending item, and if contingent on all else going to plan, we'd be happy to put up future collaboration on the agenda if that's something you're interested in.
So I've heard that the first thing that both parties would like to discuss will be regarding safety of the trams. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Secondly, there's some financial components into this discussion. Perhaps let's call this some monetary sums that we need to deal with in this session.
Probably we could also already add sub-points there. So
Sure.
to
Okay.
be precise, so maybe first of all the 8 million and then the 6 million. So if you agree.
Yeah.
You
That-
want
that-
to list that as an issue that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, we're happy to put the figures that are subject to the claim.
All right.
forward.
So there are two key monetary sums. So I've heard that is 8 million, and another one is about 6 million. Anything else?
We'd like to discuss after that the public perception and how we can work together to improve that.
Addressing public perception relating to
Safe.
of the safety of the trams?
Yeah, safety and operational efficiency. But that's quite long-winded, I appreciate, so safety is fine.
Safety of the trams and certainty of the services.
Operational efficiency.
Thank you.
And is that okay?
Yeah.
All right, there's one more that was voiced just now, and it's about the future relationship between the two companies. Do you want this to put as an agenda right now?
I appreciate we might have to have further discussions on that, but in putting it up on the board, it might, in the spirit of moving forward, I think it might be a good idea.
Absolutely. Let's put it on.
Yeah.
Great. So perhaps let me hear from you where you would like to begin. Let's put some kind of priority in terms of the issues here. Where do you want to begin with?
I believe that the first point is absolutely necessary for everything else to be discussed. And I do believe that this order is kind of already reflecting for us how this could look like. But obviously, if we find out that it might be more efficient to later jump to another point to make it intertwined with the other points, then I think that's something that we can do. Right, Jody?
Of course.
But I believe this order would suit us already.
Yeah, Ali, you're happy with this?
I agree with that, and I mean, as in all kind of mediation sessions, nothing's agreed until everything's agreed. So naturally, we will be, as we come on to kind of find solutions, we'll be probably end up jumping from agenda item to agenda item as contingencies come into play. But as a kind of start-off point, we're happy with that, and to start off with the safety of the trams.
Thank you for that. So let's make this item 1, 2, 3, and 4. Great. Perhaps we will begin with some discussion about the safety of the trams here. So in your opening presentation just now, I think I've heard some discussions about what has happened and then investigation into the safety of the trains. So perhaps we would like to talk more about the first issue.
Absolutely. And I believe that I might just touch upon what you said about how important security of the trains is for you. And I want to acknowledge that because I know the industry you work in. That's the same industry I work in. And it's important to keep people safe. And I want to stress this. We send someone immediately to investigate the issue because we want to make sure that there's no safety issues. And then, nevertheless, you still grounded them. And like I said, our engineers are very, very good with our trains, and they know everything about them. So if they say that they're safe to drive, then I believe they are safe to drive. So what I'm asking you is, on what criteria are you basing the grounding of all trams?
Yeah, thank you for that and for opening up the discussion. I suppose my response to that would probably be in the form of a question, in that, as I indicated earlier, we felt that the investigation initially was slightly perfunctory and maybe a kind of a sweeping under the carpet of the hairline fracture. And so with that in mind, I'd like to delve deeper into what your kind of initial investigation consisted of. Who was on, what defines a hairline crack, and is it something you see regularly?
So I'm not an engineer, so I personally just technically can't dive into the details here, but we have engineers that are working on the trains that also develop the trains, and if they say that it was sure and safe to drive them, to operate them, then we're very certain that they are. And afterwards, we also did some tests and tested them properly as to make absolutely sure that there's no security risk. And it turned out there is none. There was no security issue at all at any point, and it was safe to operate them.
And on that, would you have I appreciate you might not have it with you today, but a written report outlining the investigation and what was determined?
So we don't have that with us today, but I believe it's absolutely manageable to give you that information afterwards. I will have my engineers put something up. But because we're certain that the investigation was thoroughly, and we're certain that the cracks are nothing of a security risk.
However, just to refer to the initial question again, did you also run a few tests to have proper objective criteria to refer to when you decided to ground all of the trams?
Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate you two are concerned with where our basis for the lack of safety comes from. And we did have an independent report carried out by the Skyline, by the Sea Line Office of Transportation. And I'm happy to share with you that based on that report, now my lawyer can go into the details of the report, all I know is what I was told, in that there were signs of unusually early material damages that would need to be addressed before the trains could operate. And so based on that then, we proceeded to ground the trains on the assumption that there were safety issues with them based on the faulty design or the materials used, until we could carry out kind of further checks and get the repairs done in conjunction with yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Could I just ask, do you have a cause of do you know what caused the cracks?
We don't know. We honestly can't tell you, but my engineers are on it, and we are certain that this won't happen again. We want to be reliable, and we see this as one of your concerns as well. We want to recognize it as that. We don't know what it caused. we can't tell. However, we're certain that if in the future you said it before, you want to have assurances, then that's something that we can do. Absolutely, we can help you there.
But did your report also imply kind of a danger tendency for the usage of these trains? I mean, you only referred right now to the material issues.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. The report indicated while there was no immediate danger to the trams, that there was this issue that needed to be addressed. And I suppose just to elaborate on that and how we took that and how we kind of interpreted that, while it indicated there was no immediate danger or risk to the trams, I suppose if we would for a second just hypothetically hypothesize that the opposite were true and there was an immediate danger, I mean, I don't think you and I would be here today in mediation. We wouldn't be able to trust in the relationship if there was an immediate danger to the citizens. And so in that regard, this allowed us to take proactive steps in safeguarding the security and the safety of our citizens. So it allowed us the time to remedy the issue, and remedy the issue collaboratively, I suppose, hopefully, and to take the trains off the tracks. So that's in response to that question.
I just want to react on that because I believe that, yes, the security is important. I cannot stress that enough. But as you said, there were no immediate danger to the trams, and you still put them off the tracks, even after your report concluded there is no immediate danger and our report concluded there is no immediate danger. So I hope you can see how these immense sums that you're claiming then for taking the trains off the tracks, even though both reports stated that there was no immediate danger, is something that we see as unrightful.
Yeah, just on that, and the idea of immediate danger, from your perspective, what would immediate danger look like? I mean, a likely crash of the trains, just to hypothesize.
Immediate danger is for us any danger that could occur at this moment or without any intervention in the future to the people using the transportation.
I might just add, the Sealand Office of Transportation, their report, like it highlighted early material fatigue that must be addressed. This wasn't necessarily something that might have caused the trains to crash. But as you stated, and as my client stated, the industry we're in cannot afford any risk because risk in this industry causes death. You mentioned the report that your engineers were working on, and you said you couldn't share the cause at the moment of the cracks. I think you can understand from our perspective, my client had purchased these state-of-the-art trams, and within 2 months, these supposedly cosmetic cracks had already occurred. There is definitely, I think you can understand why the trust here was damaged, and I think there's been a lot of movement already on that. But I wonder, in helping to build that trust, would you be willing to, once the report is finalised and you have it, would you be willing to share with us?
Absolutely. It's something we can do.
Jodie, would it be possible just to put up under safety of the trams, just a report would be sent?
I think as far as addendum number 1, both parties have expressed that you have done some kind of investigation into like what caused the cracks in the trams. You have some results from your own investigation. You have already have an independent report, and you have your engineer who has checked into it. What caused the cracks? It looks like there is not a lot of clarity at the moment. But both parties have some very different concepts in relation to what's the immediate danger that you are talking about. The extent or how immediate that would be considered as dangerous. I think it is normal that both parties will have some differences in relation to like some perspectives in this area. Now, I just wonder, we're here not to convince each other that you are right and you are wrong. This is not the purpose of this process. We are here to understand each other's differences and like how to disagree better. So I just wonder whether you have anything more to add as far as the safety of the trams, whether there will be any actions that both parties can do when this is such an important issue to both parties, or you want to park here at the moment, and then you try to look to the other issues, what can be done. Any thoughts?
If I might, on that, in the interest of transparency, and I know we spoke about sharing the report and assurances going forward, I wonder if you might be able to share with us, I know you have other consumers in the area, any kind of similar investigations that you've carried out for similar faults?
I think the parties are Big Easy and Fast Track City Lines.
Yes, in Newland and Botania, right?
Yes.
So we are a business, and we of course have other clients. And you mentioned them, the Fast Track City Lines in Botania and Big Easy Transportation in Newland. And to be quite frank, Big Easy Transportation in Newland is absolutely happy with their trams delivered. There is no issues whatsoever, and we're in contact with them. With Fast Track City Lines, we had the similar issue. We had the hairline cracks there as well. But as I mentioned before, we are responsible and approachable. So we immediately went into contact and close relationship to them. We fixed the issue, we got the trams fixed, and they're absolutely fine now. And there's, as in this case, no safety issue whatsoever in any case. So you can really trust us here that we want to stand to our word to have secure transportation. And we did so with Fast Track City Lines by repairing them immediately.
But in addition to that, I might add a little legal perspective here that, of course, you have to understand that business relationships also have to remain confidential up to a certain point. So I think we are not here to talk about the past, but rather move on and find a solution for the dispute at hand.
I just want to respond. I appreciate that and your honesty with us, and I think we both appreciate that. With Fast Track, and you stated that they are fully safe, and I think, Jody, you mentioned it, we're not here to try and convince each other of was it safe, was it not, because as you said, it's in the past. And I do think, moving to the future, if we can have assurances of that it is definitely safe, that will lend itself, that will let us move forwards. And I just wondered, just one last question about the report. Do you have a date that would be ready to be sent to us?
I don't, but I can make sure that it's as fast as possible. Absolutely. And if you need safety and security assurance, then we can do that. We are here. We're responsible and approachable, and we want to make sure that the trains are safe. So we can make sure that they're tested again, just so you guys can sleep tight to know that your citizens are safe in your transportation system.
And on that, just given that you've mentioned I know in the confidentiality of clients, that's absolutely understandable in a commercial world. Given that you've had these kind of issues before, and in looking towards the future, what's involved in the repair of these kind of issues? What's the timeline?
So we, of course, are keen to repair them as quickly as possible. And in your case, if we figure out a way to settle the claims in the room, as right now they're kind of holding our breath away, they're like really wrapped around us, then we would be able to get them up and running by the end of March if we can get them to our repair site in Sea City at mid-February. So we would take 6 weeks.
Okay, thank you for that.
And yes, so I feel like that maybe the safety issue has been somewhat elaborated on, because I feel like that's a common interest of us, if you agree, Jody.
I think, well, moving on from what was discussed previously, I think just now you have talked more about what happens to similar incidents like the Fast Track City line, and then what was required to fix the issues in that incident. I think both sides just talked about like how to restore trust between the two parties. And you have mentioned when the report will be available And as far as future purposes, all right, when will the repair can be performed, and what are the future assurances that can be given to Streamlines? So you want to work further on what the future assurances are, or what do you want to do in terms of the agenda here?
So I personally would really love to maybe talk about the claims in particular, because that would help us also to kind of think of ways to resolve this issue. And so I want to ask you, what are you basing your calculation of the reputational damage as well as the damage of the trains per week on?
Also, from a legal perspective, it is, of course, important to have some kind of proof here, as my client obviously does not want to pay for numbers that she does not understand where they come from. And you also, and I mentioned that before, are in the burden of proof here, so probably you could elaborate more on that.
Yes, just on that, I appreciate there's been a couple of questions asked there. Jodie, if I might ask you, if you remember the first one, that I could respond to that.
Yeah, I think the first question from them is that the reputational damage that you have referred to, so how the numbers that you will come up. So perhaps let's deal with that, and then we come to another point. Should we do that?
Yes, absolutely, that sounds good. Thank you for clarifying that. Like I said earlier, we're in the public domain. We work in a public kind of sphere. We're answerable to the citizens of Skyline and the government of Skyline. So you can appreciate the heightened scrutiny that carries with it, and the kind of pressure we're under from that public perception and how we're viewed. On that, like I said, I'll go back to it, both operational efficiency and operational safety fall in under that. The operational efficiency, we've been effectively mocked in the public here for how this has looked. I mean, we ordered these state-of-the-art trains. We then had to ground them and reuse our old trains that we were trying to replace at the time. So, I mean, it's been a public, like a PR nightmare for us in that sense. And so it has had ramifications for us. We've had backlash from the public, from the government, and we've really suffered as a result of that. There's been disruptions to our operations. It's been in the press. It's been highly scrutinised. And so all of this, I suppose my counsel will get into the legals of reputational damage. I don't know what that's defined as. All I do know is that from a commercial perspective, it has had a quantifiable effect on our figures. Reputational damage, as I'm sure, Julius, you'll understand, is it's not it's not tangible. It's not something you can feel. I can't show you expenses that has caused that. We've had, I mean, it's been based on our financial team have pulled up together this figure as to what has caused this. But my primary concern in outlining to you here is that the heightened scrutiny and the bad publicity that's come as a result of our position in the city and as a kind of governmental almost or contract, the effect that has had on us.
I realize the effect it has had on you. I just also want to outline, as you said before, I'm a business person too, and to be honest, I cannot pay something that's based on what I felt, or what we felt, what was appropriate.
Yeah.
I might just touch on, Lee, we hear that the monetary sum, it's obviously a big number, and we hear it's very important to you, and we're happy to discuss the figures, and I'll break them down for you. Julius, I just want to touch on, you mentioned the burden of proof, and we're happy to get into the numbers, but we're not here to litigate. We're not here to put out our legal claim, because, again, as I said, we feel litigation maybe closes doors, and that's why we're here today, to open them. You mentioned the reputational damage. It can't just be feelings. As my client outlined, it is quantifiable. It may be intangible, but the damage that my client has suffered in the public, so the monetary sums on the board are 8 million and 6 million. The 6 million, that is information that we've shared with you, that it was 50,000 per tram per week. Regarding the 8 million, the reputational damage is valued at 2 million, and the financial information that isn't intangible, that is quantifiable, is valued at 6 million. And again, we hear this is important to you, but it is important to recognise the damage that's been caused to my client. Thank you.
All right, so I hear you. However, I feel like right now we're once again back at the legal stuff, and I thought we might want to get that out in the beginning. So maybe if we could have a talk with you, Jody, here, and we can call for a caucus. If that's fine with you, obviously.
Yeah, if you feel that would help things along.
Okay. So perhaps we will begin with the private session, and I will come to you in a while.
Okay, the caucus will last for 5 minutes maximum, and the responding party, please follow me. Thank you.
Okay, so Lee and Julius,
Yes.
This is the private session now. So what we're going to say here will be so far, how did you feel about the process? And I'm seeing that the discussion on the monetary sums is kind of like we're stuck here.
Yes, absolutely.
Perhaps let me hear about your key needs and concerns
Yes,
about
so
this issue.
You see how we're very surprised by the numbers of reputational damage and the operational cost of 6 million. That's just, quite frankly, not something that we can pay. And we want to be approachable and responsible, so we can offer to pay a sum on the damages that will occur while the trains will be standing still while we repair them, which will be for 6 weeks for 4 trains, 50,000.
6 weeks, 4 trains.
Yes, 50,000 per train. That will be 4 million we can pay. Nevertheless, that's basically our bottom. We can't go any higher than that, except if we can work out contingency in the future relationships, because they stopped the negotiations about any future trams and trains being bought by them. And with our board, we have approval to go up to 6 million if we feel that, if we make contingent that we have a future relationship. However, I'm not sure how we can offer this or bring this into the room without offending them, quite frankly, because their claims 14 million that's still more than double than what we can maximize to do, you know? So how can we make this about the claims, but also about the future, make it contingent on the future, but not to be offensive? I'm sorry if that's a lot, but this is kind of, yes.
Yeah, I just wonder, have you put any thoughts into it? Because obviously when you get the approval from the board about what you're going to offer, the reservation value, you have some idea about that. And it's quite far away from what they are asking. Exactly. But how could we package this? Because both of you talk about future relationship between the two companies, and it looks like that from what they are claiming right now, quite a large part of it relates to reputation. So if we try to think a little bit more about what is important to them and your limitation in terms of the financial components, is there any package or proposal that you can put this together and put it forward to Streamlines?
So I believe security is important for them. So we can offer, of course, security assurances, and to have all the trams that still are out to be delivered, the 20 that are still outstanding, we can have extra tests with them so that they're absolutely sure that there is no problem with them. And we will, if necessary, do the same for the trams that might be negotiable for the future, the suburban tram lines of the type ST4. And if we're talking about reputation, then there's not much room, I think, for big advertisement campaigns because we're in the public transportation service. But however, we can obviously make some kind of statement how we'll work together in the future and how we'll make sure that the security is important for us and that we're absolutely certain that the trams are intact and there's no problem to that. However, I wouldn't want to make it as something big just to not have mass panic, basically. That's something what happens in the public eye, right? So we could offer to repair them free of charge, obviously, have a PR statement with them, and security assurances if that's what they need to trust us again. And then the money is kind of contingent. We can only offer 6 million if they want a future relationship, and we can offer the 4 million apart from that. However, that's still very far from their claims, right?
But still, probably we could also brainstorm a few ideas on how to solve this in an alternative way than monetary. Like, obviously they're interested in reputation. Probably they have a few ideas on how to solve this. Also, besides this monetary claim that is in the room, and I also try to outline this, which is just extraordinary. We cannot pay for this, and we are not legally entitled to do so.
From what I've heard in the plenary session, it looks like they have a lot to do, that they need to do, in terms of like accounting to the public about safety, reliability of the train services.
Oh, sorry.
6 minutes.
Thank you so much, Owen and Ali, for giving us the room, time, and space to discuss with Jody here. To kind of give you a tiny little bit of summary of why we called this caucus and also what we did is, I feel like we're getting very stuck here right now and only focusing on the what's in the room right now, and reputational damage is absolutely important for you and it's justified for you, and I respect that. I have a different opinion, but I think it's okay to have that, right? So to maybe move forward now, maybe it's okay to leave this behind and think about things, what we can do to help you and to make this possible as a future relationship. And so before I come forward and with specifics, I need to know that if you feel like that there's enough trust in the room right now, do you want to continue the contract that was cancelled about this outstanding 20 trams in Sky City right now?
Yeah, thank you for your question. And I too felt the same way in you, in that we were going back and forth on legals and we could do that all day. And so with that in mind, we're keen to move into a kind of options generation, brainstorming area where maybe neither party is held to what any offers that they put on the table, but just that we can start generating some options with a view to moving forward. Because in answer to your question, yes, we're interested in taking those trams. In fact, as soon as possible. If we can get, that's contingent on getting the assurances that we spoke about in terms of safety and, I suppose, remedying the reputational issues that we've suffered. And on that, I know we were getting bogged down in the numbers and what this might mean. Our primary interest is restoring trust and the reputation and the public perception of our operation. And so on that, something that we would be interested in, as opposed to maybe monetarily quantifying the reputational loss, if we could come together and, I suppose, publicly acknowledge the safety of the trams, and I suppose restore our reputation in that sense, then moving away from the figure, the damages figure. I mean, we're not litigating, so if we can move away from that damages figure and towards an alternative option to remedy that interest of ours, what would your thoughts on that be?
So I completely see your point that reputation is important, and a statement would be absolutely important too. And generally speaking, we are willing to do so together with you to maybe outline that we've settled and that we look towards future business collaboration. However, we cannot make this a big advertisement thing since we're still a public sector, right? And I believe that a brief PR statement would outlining that we've settled so far and that we've come far and want to work together in the future, that would be something that is possible for us, yes.
Yeah, and just to clarify my position on that, we would also establish our mutual confidence in the safety of the trams in that statement. I again, and now this is not me trying to be too legalistic, it's not an admission of guilt. We're not trying to attribute blame or any of that. This is a joint statement coming together and presented to the public, a kind of a joint force and confidence in the safety of the trams.
Yes,
Sorry.
No, you.
Just to clarify, like, we're not looking for an apology or anything. We're looking for together, collaborative, mutually beneficial. And I wonder, maybe Jodie, in the benefit of talking about options, it would be something. I'm quite a visual learner. I wonder, could we maybe start putting some things on the board? Everything is contingent on the other. There's no commitment here. But could we talk about, like, and I think the statement is maybe something we can figure out the finer details of. But the idea of the statement, I think earlier you mentioned timing, and maybe if we were to do the repairs, you would carry out another investigation of them, and you could have them ready potentially by the end of March. They're all things that are very important to my clients.
All right, so maybe we can put them up as options, right?
Yeah.
To have them repaired as quickly as possible,
Thank
get
you.
them back on the tracks. And if you say that you want the next 20 trains as well, that were still part of the original contract, then we're happy to share that we are on time and on budget, so we would be able to deliver them by the time that we clarified in the contract. So if that's something that satisfies you, we can put that up there as well.
Could I ask, what does the future look like for you?
So, you see, I'm selling and producing trains and trams. I want to keep doing that. And quite frankly, there's different opportunities that we have. We can work on further trams, but we can also think about something new. And we started negotiating about this before the claim was in the room, about future opportunities for maybe suburban trains, for example, if that's something you're interested in.
Yeah, I think based on, I suppose, coming into this mediation session, I don't know what my answer would have been to that question. Based on what's gone on today, I am confident in the ability that we can re-establish that trust and move forward together. And so absolutely would be interested in kind of renegotiating those terms and that contract moving forward. So yeah, it's something we can look at. I'm not sure if we've fully settled all the issues before us today. But working into the future is something that, if you want to talk about that now, we're happy to do that. Or I know, Julius, you're quite concerned with the monetary figures that are up for discussion. If you want to kind of get more of a handle on that before we move to discuss the future, or...
So for me personally, it is important to talk about the monetary claims, and I think we can get to there in a second. I just want to make sure that you know how important it is for us to basically intertwine the future with the present right now, because any future relationship can only happen if there's a fair settlement today or in this time, so that we kind of can breathe and can operate and have new trains and have a future relationship with you. So maybe we can put up the option of, Jodie, if that's fine for you, the option of future suburban trains, if that's something that you're interested in.
It absolutely is, yeah.
It's definitely something I think that could be looked at.
Yes.
You mentioned the fair settlement. What does fair settlement look like to you?
I think then we would go to the claims directly.
Just more generally.
So in general, we recognize that you've had damages. We want to recognize that. We respect that. But I hope you also respect how we cannot answer to them in a way that you might wish as the claims you put in the room. First of all, because we're a business and we wouldn't be able to operate if we have such high amounts of claims above our heads, right? But in general, we are willing to acknowledge the damages also monetarily, however, not in any
You mean the scope, the
yes,
range of the figure?
Thank you, Jodie. I'm sorry, that was just me searching for my words. So to just come one last time to the future suburban trains, because I really feel like I'm more comfortable and confident. I hope you see that as well. I'm more comfortable sharing precise numbers when I have some certainty that there is going to be a future relationship. So, sorry, yes.
Yeah, I can see this is very important to you, so I'm happy to discuss this if it means we can then move to settle what's in front of us today.
Yes.
So, in looking to the future, I suppose, what are your thoughts on that? What kind of numbers are you looking at?
So we are producing the very new suburban train line ST4. We're very excited about that. And we would like to know whether you would want to generally purchase them or are interested in this kind of model train for the future.
Absolutely, yeah. We've done our market research on the train. And like I said at the start, we're interested in your state-of-the-art kind of modern developments, and we are interested in the ST4 model, what that might look like to us. From our perspective, we would be looking in the range of 4 to 6 trains to be produced. I mean, in terms of timelines and when we might expect that by, we're looking at 2025 is our figure. I suppose I could offer up a price now. I don't know if there's any benefit in that until we have more definite figures and numbers of trains and things like that and moving to the future. Does that answer your question in terms of what our perspective is on the future relations?
Absolutely, and actually that gives me so much space to breathe right now. And I want to be frank with you because disclosing something is important as well. We can and we will want to work with you on the ST4s. However, as a business, we also need kind of like a minimum of what one offers. And I just want to be clear with you that we can do so if you offer anything of 5 and above. That's 5 and above trains that you want to purchase, just because then we can start the productions. Otherwise, it's just from a business perspective not profitable at all. If that's something that you agree with, then I think this, and maybe Jody doesn't have to add anything here, or she has maybe.
So you are asking for a minimum commitment
Yes.
from Streamline about 5 trains.
Exactly.
And just now, they've also mentioned the timeline, delivery. So whether that will be also doable for you?
I believe it will be doable.
Yeah, so naturally, thank you for your kind of figures and putting us in the same ballpark. And like I indicated earlier, we're interested in the region of 4 to 8 trains. You can see 5 falls nicely within that. I'd be conscious of giving a firm commitment here today, as anyone would be, I think, in a commercially savvy way. I don't have the figures to hand with me. I suppose, primarily concerned with settling the outstanding claims and moving towards the future. So like that, I can give a ballpark figure of 4 to 8. And while I can say it's like 5 is potential within that, I'm afraid that's the firmest commitment I can give you on that. I hope that's enough. If it's not, perhaps we can explore some alternative kind of assurances I can give you. But like I said, I don't think I'm in the position right now to sign a contract for 5 trains.
No, absolutely. We understand that. And we know that this is right now just a ballpark number, and we want to acknowledge that. However, I hope you see how kind of a rough number and the general and sincere interest in purchasing them is important for us to have some certainty as well, you see. So I believe in that sense, we could come back to the claims, because now I feel like that if we want to have a relationship, then we should get the biggest conflict that's in the room right now out of the way, and maybe talk about the claims especially. And I see Jody's already putting that up.
I just want to add, I think it's so good to see the movement that we had today.
Absolutely.
Obviously, for my client, everything is contingent on rebuilding that trust. I think we've gone a long way to do that, and we thank you for that. Mm-hmm. And obviously, everything is still about rebuilding the idea of safety and settling the claim in a way that seems fair to both of us.
Yes. So, minimum? Oh, yeah.
I think that there's not any clarity as to 4, 5, 4 to 8.
Yes.
I think we can put it the things that we are going to agree in some kind of term sheet, and then the councils can work on the precise settlement agreement at a later time. I just want to mark it down so that you will know what are the outstanding areas that you would need to work on. So that's the minimum commitment. I think both sides need to think more carefully about that, all right? Apart from that, anything else that you want to build into the terms that we are going to work further on?
For future suburban trains, you mean? Or
Yep. So we have 2 terms here. First of all, both parties will be doing a joint statement to the public the objective, the purpose of that is to restore the public confidence in the safety of the trains. Okay, so this is something, the details of the statement, I think would need the councils to work together on the final product. So this is something that you would need to work further. And secondly, is about having a future contract in relation to the suburban trains. So details, some more details to be pending. Anything else that would be required to tie the deal?
Well, I wonder, as I said, we've made such progress here, and we'd mentioned earlier about having maybe a communication clause moving to the future. And something else we've spoken about is we've seen the benefits of mediation today, thanks to Jodie. I wonder, could we work into a future contract a mediation clause or something like that, that if a dispute arises, despite our best efforts, that we could move towards mediation again if that was to happen?
Yeah, totally agree. I just thought about it as well.
So we can put that on the board as well.
And then just, you mentioned the repairs and inspection. Could we put up something about that, about an inspection of the trains and a full repair, and that we will be able to have them back at a certain time? Contingent, obviously, on settling the claims and everything else. This is all contingent, I suppose.
So I believe because this is all contingent on the future relationship and on rebuilding trust, then I'm willing to come back on my offer to repair the trains immediately, as quickly as possible. And I believe I gave you the time frame of mid-February, as of right now, to the end of March, when you'll have them back and fully functioning and able to operate. That's something we absolutely can offer. And I want to address your claims for monetary damages here as well, because I feel like that we're not seeing quite eye to eye on why you need those or what for and exactly what scope. However, I want to recognize to you that you have those damages. And so to come to an offer to you, and maybe afterwards we can put that up as well, Jodie, we are willing to repair the trains free of charge and in a time scope of 6 weeks. And because it is kind of uncertain why in the exact number of the reputational damage and who put out the trains first and why, we can just leave that behind. And we can offer you, and I've talked about this with my board, but I've also talked about this with Judy, that we will bear the operational costs of leaving the trains not in operation for the 6 weeks that we repair them. And that will be for 6 weeks for 4 trains, the amount that you wanted to have, the 50,000 per train. But I do have to say that I'm coming forward to you with this offer. That's kind of our bottom line according to what we can give you right now.
Maybe just to give a little additional clarification here, we are talking about the repair for the trams where the hairline cracks actually appeared. So
yes, thank you for clarification.
To clarify that.
Could I ask, how much would the repair cost? I know you've had to do similar repairs with another company. Can you quantify that?
The exact reparation cost?
Yeah.
I can't, I'm sorry. However, maybe Jodie, you can put up this offer.
Sure. So we have 1, 2, 3, the 4 components will be about.
We hope you see how much we're trying to come forth to you and to address your issues and concerns and recognize that it's important for you. I hope that this offer kind of makes it obvious here.
And so just to clarify, the 6 weeks, 4 trams, 50,000 per week, amounts to a figure of 3 million.
4 million, sorry.
4 million, thank you. And so you can see, I suppose, I know we're happy to move. There's a big difference between our claims for 14 million and the claim for 4 million. We're happy to move with you on these figures. But there's a big gap there. And like I said earlier, I'll need to we've incurred a loss, a quantifiable financial loss in the realm of 6 million.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I'm just wondering, how would one justify that to the people of to the people of Skyline, them being the ultimate stakeholders, operating under the scrutiny of the public eye that we do, and I need to recoup those losses. I'm just not financially in a position whereby I can accept anything, to be frank, anything under 6 million.
Mm-hmm. So actually, I've talked about this to Jody as well. We don't want to be offensive. It's just we're a company as well, and if we have to pay damages in a scope that's too high for us, then there's no possibility of us making future business, right? That's just how a business works. And we want to acknowledge that. However, we talked to the board about this, and this is kind of the 4 million is kind of what we can give you as of right now. However, if you say that there's absolutely nothing possible for you under 6 million, if I heard that correctly, maybe Jody, you can.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yes, okay, you've heard that too. Then I can offer you to find an intertwined maybe idea for the future then, and we thought about maybe if you want to make future business with us, and it seems like you want to, then we could maybe talk about a discount here, and I could come up with, that's quite frank, I'm trying to address your interests here and your bottom line. We could come up with a discount of 2 million that would sum up to the claim of 6 million if you buy then the next future trains of us. Is that something that you're interested in?
I suppose it is something I'm interested in. My initial thoughts would be a discount of 2 million. What would that look like? I mean, that's just, from my perspective, you've thrown out a number of a discount. I mean, we haven't established how many trains we're going to buy, the price of them. Will it be a proportionate discount? Is it a percentage of the cost? I mean, is it just going to be we'll establish a cost and then take 2 million off it? I suppose you'll understand my concerns in that regard as to what that would look like.
Absolutely.
So maybe we can clarify that we are indeed willing to raise our amount of which we want to pay for up to 6 million, but contingent on the fact that we are working together in the future on the TR4, if I got that correctly.
Yes, and that would just be then the idea, basically. We want to match your interests, we want to match your bottom line. Also, thinking about that this is the absolute maximum we can go without, getting the board over our heads. And so we thought that this might be a clever way for having the raised amount, because that is a lot of money for us, to having contingent on a future relationship. So that's where the 2 million come from. It's not a percentage. It was just an idea to put in the room how we can make this absolutely contingent on a future relationship. Because I want to stress this, that we can only afford this if there is a future relationship, you see?
Thank you. And I think we're very grateful for the positivity and the movement we're making here. I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding, but I'm not entirely sure of the option. Jody, would you be able to help me rephrase?
A while ago, you were talking about the repair of the trains. Mm-hmm. So we were talking about the timeline when the repair could be finished. And then the conversation shifted to about the repair costs. And then we come to the monetary component that you were just on. I just wonder whether you want to fill in the details in terms of the repair of the trains. But if you want to talk about the monetary payment now, so you need to talk more as to that 6 million will be purely on like a settlement number, or you want to like package it and some kind of like future contract sums. So this is your decision.
Yes.
Think about it.
So Jody, I think you made a very good point, and I would ask you to maybe separate them on the board then, to separate the 4 million and the additional 2 million. As I want to stress again that, and I hope I've done so already, that if we pay anything above 4 million up to an absolute maximum of 6 million, that is completely contingent on a future relationship, and not just some, yes, we will do that, we might negotiate, but we need some certainty here. And maybe you can put that up the board in two separate claims, or not claims, but offers.
Let me hear from them first.
Yes, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my only question on that would be where the 2 million has come from. I mean, you've moved from 4 million to 2 million, so can you walk me through kind of what you've based that on?
Honestly, that's we want to acknowledge your reputational damage. That's all we can say about that. It's what we can offer, and it's the absolute limit. we cannot go any higher than that.
Maybe in addition, we try to expand the cake here, kind of. So we want to work with you, and we want to expand the value of our business relationship way further than just focusing on the past claims that are outstanding. And you also apparently showed interest in the new trains, so you also kind of see the value here. Probably this could be then just a win-win situation.
Definitely sounds positive, and expanding the cake is a great phrase. I'm conscious that we're maybe under a bit of time pressure. I wonder, Jody, if you have any guidance on the direction we should take in the last few minutes. Should we set up maybe another meeting to finalize everything?
Here, I think just now we have talked about the joint statement to be made to the public. Some further thoughts by the council will be, when will the statement be made? And you need to work on the contents of the statement for both of you. And then there were also discussions about one possible option about the future suburban trains. So 4, 5, 8, the kind of commitment as to the number. Think about that. And then meanwhile, I've heard that the delivery of the trains will be in around 2025. Both of you agree to put a dispute resolution clause in any future contracts with a mediate first provision, and then addressing the current problem that we are discussing today. So there's some discussion on the repair of the trains. Probably by the end of March that could be finished. It is just that the monetary payment, so how would we package this, whether this will be the entire settlement sum or part of it be a settlement sum and part of it into a discount of the future contracts. So this is something that you can talk more. But basically, I think there is some common understanding as to the number, but where to and how to address that number will be something subject to further discussion.
Yes,
Anything else?
I might just add, as my client mentioned, and I think it's sharedly about safety, and that's been, I suppose, the vein that's been going through all of this. I wonder, this is all contingent on having that trust rebuilt, and it was the safety report. And I think that's something that we would need before everything else moves. I think that's something that we really would, my client would need. So if we could just have it on the board, just so we know for the next time that once you have it, you could share it with us, and that would just give us the utmost confidence moving forwards.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And then maybe we can have a security of you signing something that you want to buy the next trains that you will purchase from us. So we have some security here as well.
Yeah, I suppose, like we said, the terms of the contract are maybe will form the substance of the next mediation session, and something for council to look into when we leave. We can put them to work. That's why we pay them the big bucks, so they can look into the terms of that in the next session.
So maybe we can put that up the board as well.
So you mean the safety report that you list out the incident, the causes, and then the investigation, and what's the next thing that you need to...
Then a contractual, not obligation, but
assurances?
Like a pre-contract or preliminary state contract.
An agreement to agree.
Exactly.
That's correct.
Okay.
As you see that this is contingent for us on any future relationship.
Okay, so I think the next thing that both parties will need to work on will be, when will you be meeting again to list out, to discuss more on these issues, and when, maybe to give yourself some kind of timeline as to when the final settlement needs to be reached. So I think that will give each other like more incentive, all right, and also the energy to keep this negotiation going with a view to reach the final consensus. Okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jody.
you so much, Owen and Ellie.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Okay, thank you teams for a great session. Let's give them another round of applause. Excellent job. And thank you, Jody, for brilliantly mediating this session. Now, Now the judges will withdraw for the deliberations and scoring. So we are going to take a short break and be back here in 15 minutes sharp. Okay, don't go far. And please, before you depart, please let us get the judges out of the room first. Thank you so much. Judges, if you please.
Test. Okay? Ja.
Welcome back, everyone. If we could get you all to find your seats. If you know anyone that's in the hall, tell them they're about to miss the fun. Okay, welcome back. Now, we would like to begin with the award ceremony after that wonderful mediation session. But first, I'd like to invite on stage 2 of our 5 judges, Anna Sambold and Cesare Rogola, who will share some of their thoughts and insights into the mediation session itself.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everyone, and congratulations to both of the teams once more. We're all sure that you deserved your place in the final. It was a pure pleasure to watch you on stage. It was also very realistic, so we all felt as if it was a real mediation, so congratulations once more to you both. Thank you. Yeah, round of applause. I want to briefly comment on behalf of the judges on the two specific points. One of them is the strategic use of information that we could all witness here, and for both of the teams, you both perfectly knew when to use which information, both from the general information and the confidential that you had, and we could all witness how it structured the mediation and it pushed the mediation forward. So congratulations on that. That's the first point. And the second, my last point, and then I'll give the floor to Anna, is the teamwork that you could have presented, because that was, I specifically want to touch upon mediation advocacy that we could all witness here, where the clients were really focused on the business realism in the frame of each of the client, because those were different companies. Some of them had to take account of the public safety, whereas the other was more commercially oriented, and we could all witness that very clear. And the quote that I wanted to use was, "I might not agree with you, but I respect your point of view." So congratulations on that, as well as the lawyers' work, counsels, because that's where you both were ready. Julius, you were ready to outline the legal case from the very beginning, and we could witness that in the opening statement. And then Owen, you asked all these questions that were really needed to get into the details of that case. So for that, congratulations one more time.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations to both teams. It was an outstanding performance. And as a mediator, as a judge, it was truly inspired to see and witness your team's performance. It was just outstanding. I love the exceptional skills that you demonstrated, strategic thinking, and your collaborative spirit. To me, it's a really hard to balance your advocacy skills with trying to resolve a case in a collaborative way, but you did it. And your ability to navigate that, it was just outstanding. And I just can say that it's really impressive, and I'm really excited about our future. Our future is really bright, and it's in your hands. Congratulations.
I have to hand it to those two. I told them they had 1 minute each, and they stuck to it. Good mediators. Okay, now, it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Alexander Fessas, the Director of ICC Dispute Resolution Services and Secretary General of the ICC Court of Arbitration, who will be conducting the award ceremony. Alex, the floor is yours.
Can we please hear it for the indefatigable Julie Griffin-Carty? Both, of course. The rest is scripted. Bonjour, it's a great pleasure to be here. It seems that the TR20, am I saying it correctly? Tram will be getting soon back on track, which is not a bad thing, with more orders coming in. What really struck me, and it's not of course the first time, is how realistic this problem is to commercial reality and to the processes that we actually see day in, day out being administered under the ICC mediation rules. So kudos, of course, to the drafters, kudos to the drafters of the rules, kudos to all the professionals and the volunteers who came here to assist these 46 teams and those 116, I think, students over this wonderful week. Those who had the great pleasure of hearing me speak also on Monday evening may remember that I said that I am not here, I was not there, to speak about mediation. I may have ultimately done that a little bit, but I'm also not here to really speak about mediation either. Corporates, states, state-owned entities do not litigate because they love the judges. They do not arbitrate because they love arbitration. And, forgive my saying so, they do not mediate because they love mediation, although mediation can be a bit more fun than the other processes, that's true. They do it because they want a solution. And of course, those are tools in a toolbox that can be used, sometimes in combination, sometimes as a standalone, to make business work. And that is really why this competition is so vitally important for ICC, because it actually is a fantastic educational activity that allows the practitioners of tomorrow to understand exactly how, by utilizing those tools, businesses can go back into the business of doing business, which is essential, perhaps very essential, especially in this day and age. And that's exactly what happened during this week. And again, it's the 19th time that we host this competition. And I find myself equally excited at the very beginning and at the very end of the mediation week. And I speak, I think, on behalf of all my colleagues and all the veterans of this competition. Please keep it going. It is an extremely important event, not just for ICC, not just for the mediation community, but again for the practitioners of tomorrow. So thank you for your support. But in many respects, dear friends, there is a very special theme, I think, that emerged as this week progressed. And my good friend and colleague Eva Christova made me realize that earlier this morning. And that is a theme of graciousness. I have, for instance, to salute His Excellency the Ambassador of India, who very graciously offered his residence for the announcement of the quarterfinalists. I equally have to signal the law firm Cohen Amir Arlani, who very graciously offered their premises for the quarterfinals to take place. And I must also signal the very gracious support that many individuals, and not just law firms or other organizations, but individuals in this room and now perhaps also on planes going back home, contributed by making monetary contributions to keep this competition going. Thank you. So all of that takes a lot of graciousness, and I'll be brief. All of that takes a lot. I know that it gives you a moment also to relax a bit, right? Because you've been on the tip of your toes all morning. It takes graciousness to do all of that, but I think it also takes a level of graciousness to acknowledge one's own errors. And, a competition is a living thing. It's a living organization. And very often things go according to plan, and sometimes they go less according to plan. That's why I came today with my speaking notes. But it's a living organization, and that certainly does not excuse the commission of error, but to a certain extent, it might explain it. And there was an error that was committed yesterday during the announcement of the semis, and I must apologize for the error that was committed and to the positive or negative sensations, because both, I think, were created ultimately to some of the teams that either made it to the quarterfinals, or ultimately did not. In that respect, I would like to salute two teams specifically. I think they're not, the teams themselves are not here today, this morning, and that is the teams from Sao Paulo and Singapore. I'm not sure if their coaches are here. If they are, the coaches are also not here. I nevertheless want to salute them again, because they also, in the presence of that error that was committed, they too showed equal measure of graciousness. Thank you. Now, there are also semi-finalists who obviously did not make it all the way to the final, and that is the University of Singapore and Vrije Universiteit, if I'm saying this correctly. I know we have our friends from the Netherlands here. I must announce the third and fourth position. Am I doing this right? I am, good. The third position at the 19th competition goes to Singapore. And may I please ask our friends from the Netherlands to join me on stage for the fourth position. Would you like to do it? Would you like to do it? Well done. Well done. Thank you. You did well. I hope you bring another team next year. Sorry? I hope you bring another team next year. Excellent. Well done.
Thank you.
Well done.
Oh, thank you.
I'm told we will be giving more of these to you, but we only had to give one now for continuity reasons. Now, as I said, this is the 19th competition. There will be, of course, a 20th, and it's going to be a very significant milestone. So may I please ask you to mark your calendars for the mediation week that will take place between the 3rd and the 8th of February 2025. And of course, we will communicate on that a little bit later. But the last point on the agenda today is, of course, the winner of the competition. So may I please ask the two finalist teams to join us here on stage. Marburg and the Law Society of Ireland. Very well done to both teams. And the winner of the 19th ICC mediation competition is Ireland. Very well done. Well done. Sorry. Yes, I know. Yes, of course. And may we please also have a good round of applause for Marburg and the second position. which means that it's only 12:20. You have plenty of time for pre-lunch cocktails, lunch cocktails. If it doesn't rain, or it doesn't rain too hard, you may also enjoy Paris now and breathe a sigh of relief. Thank you very much for giving us a fantastic final, and see you all again next year. Thank you. Well done, guys.
Thank you so much.
This couldn't have been easy.
Well, it was fun either way, so that's all that matters.
We enjoyed it a lot as well.
Yeah, that's
I must
good.
say. I must say.
It was our first time ever competing in this competition.
Yeah.
And it was our first mediation competition we've done. As a
Really?
team. Yeah.
Wow, who would have thought? Who would have thought?